My book is in London right now and I am freaking out! Hello WordNerds, it is Thursday, April 10th, 2014, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about self-publishing. About a year and a couple of months ago, I was querying for agents. I had finished writing Ignite and I was ready to get it published. I had done tons and tons of revisions, months of revisions, and I was finally in a place where I was comfortable with what I had written and ready to see it in the world. A ton of queries later, I had gotten nowhere, and I was confused. I had done all the research about how to query agents, what to add into a query letter, how to nail down my synopsis and the first chapter, and get my query letter to that point where it was perfect and nobody could possibly refuse me. But I was getting rejection after rejection, and it was hard. I got a few form rejections, but the majority of emails I got were responses similar to, the first chapter was good, but we have a title similar to this on our list, or the writing was great, but paranormal is no longer in trend and not marketable. Not marketable?
Not marketable.
So I spent all this time writing a book that would never see the light of day because someone had already written something in that world and people have read all of the books in paranormal and were done and ready to move on. That didn't sit quite right with me. How could I have spent all this time developing something that I truly believed in only to see it go nowhere? Was I supposed to trunk it and wait 5 or 6 years until this trend came back and then maybe re-query and cross my fingers that a literary agent would still want to pick this up? I'm not that patient. Lucky for me, I have an oh-so-amazing writing partner and now business partner, Kelly Sheridan, and she told me all about self-publishing. Of course, I'd heard of self-publishing before, who hasn't, but I had this idea of the stigmatized self-publishers who are just publishing things that are garbage just to get their work out there, and I definitely didn't want to be one of those people. So why did I self-publish? Well, because I actually learned what it was. Self-publishing is amazing, and the number one thing that drew me to it is control. What I mean about control is that you have control over everything you do in self-publishing. You have control of your rights, you have control of the timeline, you have complete control over the creative content of the cover, the title, what's inside of it, if it's going to be a one book or a trilogy. You have complete control. Even better, you keep 100% of the profits made. You don't have to split that between a literary agent and yourself. And after seeing some of the statistics of how little authors make off of each book once it's shared with a literary agent, yeah, I could have cried myself to sleep if self-publishing wasn't there to hold my hand and pat me on the back and tell me it's all gonna be okay. With self-publishing, I was able to see Ignite in the world within about 2 or 3 months. I rewrote a couple of chapters, I hired my first editor, designed my cover, did a cover reveal, and bam! Hit publish. It was out in the world, people were reviewing it from NetGalley and on Goodreads and Amazon, people were buying my book, and I had a physical copy in my hand to hold, and now it's on my bookshelf. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Self-publishing is hard work. The hardest work I've ever done in my entire life. But I loved every single minute of it, and that's why I'm doing it again. I loved creating the cover, which I did myself, and I loved hiring the editor and seeing my characters transform into what I wanted them to be and not what was marketable at the time. It is important to follow trends. Don't get me wrong, it's extremely important to know what's hot and what's not. But I also don't think that it should dictate what doesn't get published. Just because paranormal is starting to fade away doesn't mean there aren't still readers out there ready and willing and ravenous for the next angel and demon story. I have a few fans of Ignite who are completely loyal. I might not have thousands of readers like Veronica Roth or Tahira Mafi, but the readers that I have are so loyal and awesome and genuinely just they're so smart, and I really appreciate them. Another thing I think people get confused about in publishing is just what traditional publishing is. When I was querying agents, I had this grand idea of traditional publishing. I was going to query for an agent, they were going to shop around for an editor, I was going to do some revisions, then it would get picked up by a publisher, they would love it, they would hold my hand throughout the whole thing, and it would just go like the fairy tales do, and I would be happy and an author living in comfort. Well, Erica, wake up, this is the real world. Unless you are one of the top authors that's not gonna work for you. In fact, through all of my publishing classes I've taken, I've gotten a little bit sour on the traditional model of publishing. I don't think it's bad, I think it's a great choice for some people, but for me, it's definitely not right. Because I'd still be doing the same amount of work. I'd still be doing all of the marketing myself. I'd be doing all the publicity, organizing tours or signings or events. I would have an editor and I would have a cover and a title, but I wouldn't get to pick them. The editor who works with me might not be as enthusiastic as the editor who signed on to my project now, who knows me personally and is so excited about my writing. An editor who goes through a house, or your literary agent, if you're lucky, they are actually genuinely interested in your book and your stories and your characters. But I've read a couple of articles about authors who published traditionally with houses who got an editor who was less than stellar. Sure, they picked up all the grammar mistakes, but they weren't so excited about the project, and that fizzle of excitement kind of carried on to the author, and they lost enthusiasm. I think, hands down, I made the right decision when I decided to self-publish. I would never want to change my mind. I would never want to go to traditional publishing now, especially since Patchwork Press just became a hybrid publisher, and I'm technically a hybrid author now, as is Kelly. We recently signed an international rights deal with an international literary agent based out of Spain, who is right now in London at a book fair shopping around our titles. So as this hybrid author, I'm a self-publisher in North America. I keep all of my rights and all of my creative control over here where I can utilize it. But across the sea, I'm having a literary agency handle my book, and they're shopping it around to international publishers, so it can be translated into different languages. How cool is that? Being a hybrid author is literally my dream. I will do anything it takes to make it my full-time career because I'm excited about it and I have people around me who are also excited about it. And really, I couldn't ask for more. So that is why self-publishing has been the right choice for me, and maybe it's the right choice for you. I suggest looking into it because I can promise you self-publishing is not what you think it is. It's this great, beautiful, bright, shining star that is just undiscovered yet. But some of these smart authors will catch on. Maybe you'll see a few more WordNerds self-publish. Who knows? Maybe. Tune in this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be joining the live chat. Sorry I was absent last week. This week we are having a WordNerds workshop and we're going to work on all of our writer problems. I've got a few ideas about what to talk about. I hope you guys can make it, but until then, I love you nerds and I'll see you Sunday.